It's a watch marketer's best case scenario. You're in an AD buying a watch for your newborn son or daughter to someday inherit. Heck, Patek outwardly touts that you're not actually owning a Patek, you merely look after it for the next generation. The idea of having this totem that you wear throughout your life, bring on every vacation and be seen in every picture wearing, and then someday pass that down to your kid, on paper it's a great idea. But what if you buy the wrong watch? What if you pick up something that you end up not wearing? Sure, you might have had it on your wrist while they were born, but what happens when the honeymoon phase is over? And we're talking about the honeymoon phase with the watch. Hopefully you enjoy parenting for a long time to come. I'm a proud dad to 2 boys, and I did buy 2 watches when each of them were born. And I love the idea of having this prized possession that I can eventually give to each of my boys when the time comes, preferably for an important milestone in their life and not on my deathbed or anything too grim. You can claw this watch from my cold dead wrist. Doesn't quite have the same ring as "I'm proud of you, son. Here's something for you to cherish the same way I did." There's a problem though. One of these watches sees wrist time as many as 4 days a week, while the other is sitting unworn in my watch box and has been there for a really long time. More on that later. In the meantime, I'm gonna give you guys a couple tips for buying the ideal watch to pass down to your kiddos when the time comes, based on my own personal experience. First off, buy something timeless. It should keep the time because it's a watch, but something that should stand the test of time in terms of durability and design. An early 2000s Hublot might make a turnaround the way that the two-tone tags of the early 90s have in some circles, but ultimately you want to look for something that's been around for a while, maybe a model that's been ongoing for several years. Some great examples of that would be the Omega Speedmaster, a Rolex Submariner or Oyster Perpetual, even a solid Tudor Black Bay, something that'll hold up both in terms of looks and durability. The next up is to buy something that you will actually wear, which was my biggest mistake. I got wooed by a watch and it ended up being a pretty brief period where I actually wore the thing. I liked it at the time, but it wasn't something I regularly reached for, and that kind of ruins the whole purpose of buying this heirloom watch. My idea was that I'd buy it, I'd wear it, my kids would see me with it, it'd be in all the family pictures, and then one day they'll be like, oh, there's dad's watch. And if you don't wear the watch, it doesn't come off that way. And most importantly, force your kids to like watches. Mostly kidding here, but my kids have been drawn to my watches over the years. They love turning the bezels on a dive watch or pushing the chronograph buttons on my Speedmaster, and even trying them on from time to time. I did try to get them each their own little watch, but that didn't last too long. It's just something to them that's like, oh, it's dad's watch, and it's something that like they shouldn't really be grabbing and throwing around and playing with, and that little bit of mystery kind of draws them in naturally. So the watch that I bought for my first son back in 2017 was the Omega Speedmaster. This is the Hesalite version. It's not the newest model, it's the 2017 model. And I thought it was cool to be able to pick up something I've wanted for a long time that has just so many ties to watch history, that looks great, it can be worn anywhere. It's just a great looking watch that it transcends time. The Speedmaster has been more or less the same since the late 1950s, and even buying one in 2017 just felt right. So I picked this up with the idea that even in another 30 years from now, the Speedmaster will probably still be around and probably look pretty similar. So to give him something timeless was a big deal for me. And I've certainly worn this watch more than enough for them to have memories. I scroll back in my Photos app. Everywhere I've been with my kids, with my family, I've had this watch on wrist a really decent chunk of time. Now here's the problem watch. The Grand Seiko SBGV 245 is the watch that I bought when my second son was born. Now, I liked the watch quite a bit at the time, but for me, it just kind of fell out of favor pretty quickly. I wore it here and there. I wore it to the hospital when he was born, but after that, it just kind of faded out of favor. And honestly, it's been in my watch box for over a year with a dead battery, and I haven't reached for it. Something that I thought I'd wear more and didn't really kind of ruined the whole heirloom watch thing. And also now I have this weird guilt about selling it because it was with me when my son was born. I know that might sound crazy to you. I'm a sentimental guy, and just the thought of selling it, I get this weird guilt. But then I'm like, if it's sitting in the watch box with a dead battery, how is that any better? So then comes the third watch. About a year after he was born, I ended up getting the SBGN 003, and I have worn the heck out of this thing. The fact that I've worn it, it's in family pictures, I've worn it on vacations, I've had it on my wrist for the majority of his life, and to me, he's gonna remember this or is gonna see this in pictures way more than the other Grand Seiko. And now I'm thinking this is the new heirloom watch for my second son. And the first one, eventually I think I'm gonna end up selling it. But again, the lingering, weird sentimental guilt, don't really know what to make of that. But at the end of the day, I have this watch, which was bought around the same time, which I've worn so much more, making this a pretty important piece in my collection. So be careful with what you choose, but ultimately it's gonna come down to what you wear and what your kids remember being on your wrist. It doesn't have to be a watch that costs a ton of money. It could be something as simple as a G-Shock. And honestly, you're probably better off popping that $5K into an index fund and gifting them a down payment on a house. But where's the fun in that? Hopefully now you have a better idea of what an heirloom watch is, what it means to you, and making sure that you pick the right one. I'm Ed Jelley, contributing editor here at Warning Wound. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you've picked up a watch with the intention of giving it to your kid down the line. We'd love to hear what your thoughts were behind that whole process. Is this something you think is just silly and dumb, or is it a meaningful moment between you and your child? Only time will tell. We'll catch you next time.